Hi everyone! In this video we are getting the Surface Memento and completing Mr. Masum's quest in Act 2. As you probably know, if you've completed Hollow Knight Silksong, there are 8 special tokens or mementos that you get after completing certain quests or by beating hidden bosses. These are the Surface Memento, Grow Memento, Grey Memento, Hero's Memento, Hunter's Memento, Guardian's Memento, Sprint Master's Memento, and finally the extra 4th heart that you do not give to the shamans. Most of these, however, are locked behind the Elegy of the Deep, which we still haven't figured out how to get in Act 2, and others just require beating bosses that plainly won't be available until Act 3. A few of the remaining ones though, as shown by Kilry was here a couple days ago, are very much obtainable in Act 2 or even Act 1. In particular, you can claim the Crow and Grey Mementos by just getting 2 and beating the bosses that have them. And then there's the Surface Memento. It requires going up to the destroyed version of the cradle, then completing a difficult platforming section, and finally reaching the surface. Playing the needle in here will just spawn the memento right away. And well, like most of the others, it does seem impossible at first sight. After all, the destroyed cradle is supposed to be accessible only in Act 3, right? But actually, the loading zone that is normally used to exit the destroyed cradle to coral chambers is there regardless of game progression. It is available even in Act 1. The developers just decided to place a few colliders in the way, which stay there until Act 3 is triggered. But if you've been following the efforts of the glitch hunting community lately, you know there is no way a few colliders are going to keep us from getting our spider hands on this pretty much useless item. And yeah, there is no shortage of options to get to that loading zone. Noclip is the most obvious. You can use the generic setup I showed in my mask video to get noclip at high holes, and then just move a few screens over and bypass the colliders. With just noclip though, you are not getting any farther than this. If you go up the loading zone with noclip active, well, because noclip involves no gravity, then the loading animation will actually never finish, and you won't be able to get control of Hornet back. As you can imagine, that results in a softlock. The next best thing would be to do it using rune duplication. And well, yeah, there's a setup to do just that. Here's a video by Ash who managed to get pretty close to the surface actually. Check it out, it is very impressive and kind of at the limit of what we can do with rune duplication. But problems do appear and ultimately prevent us from getting all the way to the surface with this method as well. You see, there is no known way to get rid of runes in a duplication set, so even if you do your best to delay the inevitable, eventually colliders start lining up in inconvenient ways and the way up becomes completely blocked. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's fully impossible to get to the surface memento with rune duplication only, there might be a way, but at least it is quite hard to do. And that's where the matter stood, at least as far as I'm aware. But then, while testing stuff for another big glitch that just got found, I remember something that was discovered ages ago. Well, it was actually just 6 or 7 weeks ago, but that kind of feels like a lot at this point. And it was right there too, just staring at us all the time. The solution, which is a glitch I've barely covered so far, is bench storage. But what is this kind of forgotten glitch, and how do you actually trigger it? Well, as the name implies, it's a glitch that allows you to perform bench actions when not on a bench, so you kind of store your sitting on a bench state. For example, as you can see in this clip, I'm swapping my crests during normal gameplay, which should not be possible. Additionally, whenever I open and close the inventory, I get all my health back, just as it would happen if Hornet was actually sitting on a bench. There are many more applications of this glitch which I'll cover on my next video, but today we are only interested in reaching that loading zone. And for that, I present you with the following trick, affectionately known as the tube, short for damage out of bounds. Following the trend of using bench storage to open the inventory at weird times, if you do so just as you get hit, you can then close the inventory and pause in quick succession. Let me show you with an input viewer. If your timing is right, this results in the game continuing to run behind the pause menu, as you can see here. Now, in this state you lose control of Hornet, but also the loading zones get deactivated, so if we somehow manage to move, we could easily escape the intended play area and go out of bounds. Fortunately, this is very easy to do. This puzzle has a very straightforward solution. Let's just have enemy knockback do its job and knock Hornet out of bounds across the deactivated loading zone. This, as you can see, gets us nowhere at Mos Grotto, but up in Song 25 we can actually navigate out of bounds and get to the loading zone connecting to the destroyed cradle. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. After all, we still have not covered how to actually make the glitch happen in the first place. In order to get bench storage, you need to quit out on the first few frames of the sitting animation, just like this. Although it's pretty easy to get, the problem is that when you load back in, you are placed at a bench, so you instantly lose the glitch. Well, easy then, let's just get the game to not spawn Hornet at a bench. And that might sound impossible, but if you remember, there are situations where your spawn point is set somewhere else. Particularly, this happens after picking up an ability or after some story events, like getting taken to the slab. Anytime Hornet spawns on the ground, that's your chance to prepare bench storage. Go to any nearby bench, quit out while sitting, and load back in. And that's it, congratulations, now the glitch is active and we can start messing around with it. You might be wondering though, what if you run out of these unique spawn locations? Is there something else you can do? Yes there is, and it's called setting up a false bench. To understand how this little trick works, we need to see what the game actually does when we sit on a bench. Fortunately, the debug mod comes to the rescue. As you can see, when we sit down on the bench, a new log message appears. As it turns out, the game only seems to care about very few things: the room we're in, which is tutorial 03, the area we're in, which is not relevant, and the fact that the respawn point is actually a bench. Crucially though, the game does not keep track of the particular bench we saved at. It just knows that it is a bench and it's located in the tutorial 03 room. Nothing else. Then, when loading in, the game just looks at the save room, which is tutorial 03, and then looks for an available bench to spawn Hornet on. As you might have guessed already, if you watched my other videos on room dupes, there is a massive loophole in this behavior if there is more than one room loaded when you sit on the bench. This is because when room duping, the oldest or active room is the one the game considers you to be in, and generally the one that takes priority for a lot of stuff. For the matter at hand, the active room is going to be the one where the game tries to set your spawn point, regardless of whether or not that room actually has a bench in it. From here, we have two possibilities. If the active room where the false bench was set up does have a normal bench in it, you will spawn on the normal bench when loading in. Even if it sounds boring, this tech can get you to spawn at weird benches, like this one in Bilgewater or this trapped one in Hunter's March, which, by the way, completely softlocks your save file, and cannot ever leave this bench, so this is basically unrecoverable. On the other hand, if the false bench is set at a room that does not have a normal bench, like tutorial 01 here in my example, or any other benchless room, then when trying to spawn you in, the game won't find a bench and will fall back to spawning Hornet at the base of Mos Grotto. On the ground. Can you remember what I told you before? Whenever we spawn on the ground, that's a chance to prepare bench storage. Okay then, let's see how this is done in practice, shall we? First, I start by getting Pogo Storage, the way that we have done a lot of times before. Then I kickstart room duplication by traveling from Blasted Steps to Grand Beltway. And now my active room is Coral 35, which does not have a bench in it, and my newest room is Grand Beltway, which does have a bench in it. So I can now go ahead and sit on the Grand Beltway bench, which, because of the duplication state, results in Coral 35 being set as the respawn room. And now, on loading back in, yep, that's Mos Grotto. From here, you can go to any bench, without while sitting, and that's it. Bench storage is now active. And now we are almost ready to start the Ascent, but allow me to give you a quick summary of what we are going to need to get to the Memento. For the auto bounce movement, we are going to need Clean Grip and Fade on Cloak. Then, for climbing up the destroyed cradle, we want Silk Soar. For the surface ascent, we are going to need Clawline or Rune Rage. And finally, you want to be on PC to get this done. I'll show you why in a moment. While most of these things are readily available in Act 2, Silk Soar particularly is problematic, as it's located deep within the Abyss area. In spite of that, people figured out how to get Silk Soar in Act 2 a while ago. Kilroy was here, did it with GMS noclip, and recently G-Pro did it too with room duplication in a low percent scenario. Additionally, I am going to leave a link to an unlisted video I have made which shows how to get Silk Soar using the generic noclip setup for high holes. So, with that out of the way, let's finally get to that memento. First of all, the auto bounce section. This is how it looks like with a free camera and collider boxes visible. You need to wall jump off of the floor collider and then double jump to get to the slope. From there, it's just normal movement until you get to the top. If you hit the wall jump too early, the loading zone will clip Hornet through the floor and you're stuck here, but don't worry too much, just jump to the left and hit the loading zone again to escape. On the contrary, if you happen to miss the wall entirely, you will fall to the bottom of the map and just respawn. Either way, you can immediately try again. If you are low on health, remember you can open and close the inventory to get back to full. On vanilla, you have to do it blindly. It takes a couple of tries, but otherwise it's not too bad. Just in case you wanted to replicate my timing, here I included an input viewer. And if you're wondering, yes, I do still have my jump button bound to the right trigger. Anyway, once up in the destroyed cradle, we are free to continue upwards. This area is not really meant to be climbed in reverse, so do expect some dark sections around. None of them really stop our progress though. For this first one, there's a breakable wall that you'll need to hit. Then there's another breakable, but this one is visible. Next, there's this room with waves of enemies, just kill them from below the floor. It's a lengthy process, but not hard to do. If you have Silksong, it's very useful here. Considering bench storage is active, you can just go into the inventory and equip it right away. After completing the gauntlet, you are going to notice that because we are going in reverse, the way up is blocked. Fortunately, we can easily solve that by going all the way back down and resetting the room by leaving and entering again. And then here just Silk Soar and move to the right, there's another breakable. From here and onwards, just try to continue upwards and Silk Soar whenever it's necessary. Eventually you'll make it to the flower field where Lacey's fought, and after a few more Silk Soars you'll get to the destroyed GMS arena. Up here, if you are doing this in a normal Act 2 save file, you can pick the Pale Nails ability. My footage was taken in a test file with all the tools unlocked artificially, so that's why the ability is not here now. Anyway, we can now Silk Soar one last time, and even though we are definitely not in Act 3, the loading zone at the very top of the cradle is there regardless. So we can finally go through and step into the surface. After a few more rooms, you will get to the bench. Here you have three options. Number 1. It was recently discovered that you can use Rune Rage to open the shortcut from the wrong side and cheese the entire challenge. I think this was first found by Frosty Spice. Number 2, do not sit on the bench and continue as normal. You can heal back up to full by going into the inventory, so this makes things much easier. Number 3, for the full platforming challenge experience, sit on the bench now to relinquish bench storage. Whatever you choose to do, for options 2 and 3 continue to the top and unlock the shortcut. And now here comes the problematic part. You see, there is one and only one significant downside to bench storage. It makes Hornet unable to play the Nidolin. And in a final twist to this story, both of our main objectives, Mr. Mushroom and the Surface Memento, require Hornet to play the Nidolin. Well, easy enough you might say. Just sit on the bench, lose bench storage, and finish the quest. And yeah, you can do that, no problem. Sit, go back up, play to Mr. Mushroom, finish the quest, and get the memento. But here's the issue though, how do we get out of the surface? Remember, the exit from the destroyed cradle is blocked until Act 3, And now that we have set our spawn up here to get rid of bench storage, we cannot really die and respawn outside. So, is this it? Is there really nothing else we can do to escape? Well, not quite. Remember false benching? If we manage to set a false bench in a room which does not have a bench in it, on loading in, Hornet will spawn at the base of Moss Grotto, effectively teleporting us to the very beginning of the game. And is there any way to set up a false bench up here in the surface? Well, there is. In fact, there is a glitch that allows false benching basically almost anywhere. As some of you might have guessed by now, it's time to bring in main menu storage. Let me show you how it's done. However, I have to point out that MMS is a PC only glitch, unfortunately, so unless someone else figures something out, there is currently no way to escape with the Memento on console. This video is going to be limited to a quick and easy application of the glitch to solve our predicament, but if you're interested in MMS, I really encourage you to go and check out a more detailed explanation by Mimi, the any person glitched world record holder. Anyway, for today's purpose, you want to go to the main menu and limit your FPS, the lower the better. Then bring up the quit game menu and hold no with both mouse buttons. Now you want to release the left and right click at the same time on the same frame, and that's why we wanted a lower frame rate. And after that, you need to mash, accept and cancel, which by default are bound to Z and A on the keyboard. When you see the game go into file select, keep mashing A. If your timing is right, you'll see the main menu appear behind the file select screen, and then you are good to go. Use your mouse to click on quit game, and then select a new file. Finally, select either of the difficulty levels and click twice on the file that is stuck at the surface. This is what it looks like in real time. If done correctly with this setup, you will load both files at once. And now we need to sit through the cutscene for the new file. There's a way to skip it, which is important for speedrunning, but for this, just do not worry too much and let the game play the cutscene. Whenever it's done and you load in, get off the bench and immediately sit again. Your oldest room at this point is tutorial 01, which does not have a bench, so a false bench is set up there, and you can now quit out, load back in, and there you go, you have successfully escaped the surface with the Memento. Congratulations! And I guess that's it from me today. To be honest, I kind of just wanted to talk about bench storage because we are having a lot of fun with it. It strikes a very good balance in being definitely powerful, but not overpowered. And even though this is a very niche application of the glitch, it sets the stage quite well for other stuff we might want to do in the future. As always, check the description for the notes and credit to glitch discoverers and the pinned comment for FAQs and corrections. I hope you liked the video and thank you very much for watching. See you next time!